Hello there. The most recent Dark and Darker playtest concluded on the 26th of December 2022, and already there's scenes of panic and pandemonium, dramatic increases in depression worldwide, and gamer refugees seeking refuge in whatever game they can get their hands on that gives them that similar taste of what Dark and Darker gave. I got so desperate I even tried the latest Tarkov update. As a multiplayer gamer, I became infatuated with the game. However, as a content creator, this game became my muse overnight. Not to sniff my own farts and flex, but the guide series I started on YouTube sparked a surge of interest in my live channel at Twitch. Holy hell, I need to clean that bucket. And I guess as a result, a lot of buzz around my exclusive solo-only play in this game that favors party play. I even made it to the top 5 players worldwide on the high roller leaderboards at the end of the test with top overall veteran scores, which is an amalgamation of all kinds of points across the board. And as a solo, even I had to take a step back and look at my hands and go, what are you doing? I'd like to thank every one of you who supported me along the way, like sharing clips, talking about my work, spreading it around to others. Without that, it wouldn't have happened, so thanks big time, I'm in it. Anyway, enough about my own flatulence. What happened during the playtest? Well, the game gained over 1 million unique downloads on Steam and peaked at a whopping 69.5k concurrent players. That's nuts. And during all that, the servers were stable the whole time. Thanks to the foresight of the team and the success of the previous playtest, they took all of their promotional advertising budget to market the game and spent it on better infrastructure, better servers, with full knowledge that the game was selling itself with word of mouth. So to uphold a standard of quality, they made sure that their server experience was the best possible and ready for any surge. I haven't even known massive studios being prepared for influxes like that. But the large surge of players saw a spark of interest from lots of household name content creators. So without a doubt, the game has developed a reputation now, and we all eagerly await what the future has in store. But what does the future have in store for the game? Well, the next playtest is slated for February the 6th, and that'll be roughly for a week, and maybe they'll extend it. They've extended every playtest so far because there'd be some short downtime on servers for updates, and everyone begs for more, so we're probably looking for a week and a half experience there, maybe 9 days, who knows, maybe 10 days. We'll find out the hard way, but that's when the next playtest is. And after that, there's likely to be another playtest, and then in April, the game has potential to go early access, to likely keep up the game's momentum of rising popularity. What are my sources? Well, previous interviews with Terrence, one of the lead developers, and official Discord announcements. Now, I'd like to explore the reasons why I'm excited for the future of Dark and Darker.
Incoming transmission.
First of all, the game seems to be in good hands. This game definitely feels like a project of passion than just another job. You read the mission statement from the developers on their website, you can really tell this game means a lot to them. Not only on a professional level, but a personal one too. Content and updates. A lot of long-term multiplayer games have lifespans of years now, sustained by new content added to the game to keep it fresh. I believe Valve innovated this model with Team Fortress 2 back in the day, but who really pushed the seasonal content and updates were Epic Games with Fortnite. Because of the sheer amount of money they made from raiding wallets for the latest and greatest floss dance emotes off the Epic store, it created this feedback loop where Epic invested in more staff to pump out more content and updates to keep the experience fresh. Something now expected by games when most developers don't have the time or resources to churn out so much content. Where Iron Mace has gone right with Dark and Darker is the scope of the game is kept to a smaller indoor area like claustrophobic dungeons. Yeah! With streamlined ways of developing new levels in the Unreal 5 engine. What I could gather from most developer interviews, the devs create the dungeons with modular rooms and corridors. A game called Neverwinter Nights by BioWare did this many decades ago, and you can see how you can create a new experience very quickly in the game engine. It provides fast ways of testing pathing for balance, and after release, the ability to change things and update changes very quickly and easily thereafter. To avoid the modeled modular rooms looking the same in multiple maps and getting stale, different objects can be placed around the different maps. Why is this so exciting? Well, the scope is different. In Tarkov, it took years to release a new map, Streets, but in Dark and Darker, variations of dungeons can be made in months. Knowing this is reassuring because the game will hopefully never get stuck in content drought over long periods of time. The game, in my opinion, has great visuals where the time has been spent. However, the devs clearly value gameplay over hyper realistic visuals. Many AAA game studios, they suffer from having to keep up a high standard of visual fidelity where adding in a new map or creature could result in months of boardroom meetings between heads of art teams of hundreds of artists with game designers and programmers, really slowing down fast, snappy game development decision making because the level of effort and investment in decisions is much higher, and therefore there is less risk taking. One thing to note is the level of progress between playtests has been astounding, with such a small team of only 26 in comparison to like a big studio with hundreds of staff on a project. We literally had 2 new completely animated and unique AI with different attack styles added in 2 months. Where some games, it's taken a year to implement one with like buggy features. Really keen to see what else they add in the future. My final thoughts are some minor features I'd love to see. Even though I think the developers don't need too much noisy feedback as they seem to be on top of the game, I thought I'd share my 2 cents. People ask me this stuff all the time anyway, especially on my live stream. The Rogue. Although still a solid class for the solo and squad play, I feel like the class lacks utility for its role yet. The one major strength it has is silent invisibility. It's instant and surprise attacks in 1v1 situations. However, unironically, you can build a just as stealthy style of play as a wizard, casting invisibility with haste. Then you have the added bonus of the speed boost, and you're running while invisible. Being able to run the entire duration of invisibility, making for some interesting plays as well, either aggressive or evasive. Really dangerous in the right hands. Now, I'm not saying the Rogue needs crazy buffs, but with the wizard's abilities, being able to carry lockpicks on any class to pick locks and use invisibility potions, it feels like Rogue misses some unique utility over the other classes. There's room for tweaking what's already there, but I'd love to see a gauntlet crossbow introduced for Rogue use only. Inspired by the Thief series, it would be used for utility only and have no offensive capabilities like traditional arrows would do damage. And if they do, it would be low damage. You don't want them contesting with the Ranger. Their use would consist of water bolts that could extinguish wall torches from a distance. So a rogue could either push a squad in darkness or escape from them while shooting out torches on the fly. Other uses can consist of stun bolts or nets, I think they speak for themselves, and maybe moss bolts to make footsteps quieter on the floor, shooting down some kind of soft, ectoplasm, I don't know. It's a game, alright guys, it's a video game. Let your imagination run wild.
Just like yesterday, we're talking about like slingshots and slings and, the wrist crossbows. I think like, who was it, Spud Hunter? And those are all things, if you've seen it in like D&D or other classic fantasy games, expect it in Dark and Darker.
Potions. I've suggested to SDF and Terrence also directly to take a leaf out of Diablo and add varying containers for different sizes. So like the images of the potions will change on the varying sizes. So, small potions would be like thin vials, large potions would be like large flasks, etc., etc. So instead of having to hover over each item to read its potency, just a quality of life decision, they can show you visually, its potency. And they seem pretty receptive to it. So hopefully it makes it in the game sometime in the future. Solo players and extra rating XP points. I love the high roller leaderboard. It gives me something to grind for, a mountain to climb in the game. It's just a whole lot of fun, especially as someone who's like streaming the game, 10 plus hours a day, like a complete turbo nerd. However, solos are at a massive disadvantage as they cannot one-on-one the main bosses that give you a lot of XP, and they'll struggle to keep up the pace with squads who require that XP. I'm curious if the devs can experiment and give anyone who queues into High Roller alone can get like an XP boost, say like a 1.5 times modifier. I understand that the system can be gamed in some way, like people will like solo queue into the same lobby and they get lucky and they're in the same game and they team up, although they'll be teaming up without like team names above them, so team killing can, become a bit tricky. But it's not like the current system isn't being like, cheesed in some way by squads anyway. I think this would be really cool to look into, so hopefully it's food for thought, the devs.
Die Waffe weg!
I saved the most controversial until last. Matchmaking and solo only queue. Matchmaking systems, in my opinion, stifle the growth of games and also the skill of players. Lower population regions have longer queue times and therefore less people queuing as they get bored and restless in the menus and move on. You constantly verse the same talent pool as well and never need to learn to play better as nothing is pushing you to improve. Fortunately, the high roller ranked mode separates the turbo nerds of the game from the casual players who stick to the normal mode usually, which I think is a brilliant interconnected way of the game playing and separating two core groups of a game while still simultaneously having them connected in some way. Because if you have a bad streak in the higher roller lobbies and you're out of money, then you kind of have to go back to the normal lobbies to get some currency again to get back into the higher roller lobbies, as you know, queuing into the higher roller lobbies costs you 70 gold per queue. And then, you know, the stakes of losing all your gear and having to take in better gear because players have sweatier gear in the higher rollers and the PvE is more dangerous. Problem with matchmaking is a deep one. That would take a dedicated video to articulate my thoughts on that, on why, and I may do that in the future. But for now, you're gonna have to take my word for it. Matchmaking will slowly erode the queues in this game. Look at Cycle Frontier Season 2 as an example. What was an already small player base is now playing in empty lobbies because they're not allowed to matchmake together with each other. Too many people complained that they were getting destroyed or rolled by sweaty players, so now they play with no one. Matchmaking and MMR, the lose-lose for everyone. Just think about it. This model only works for 100,000 plus player bases concurrent in games like Apex and Fortnite. I'll die on that hill, but I'm always open to people talking about it. But I just think MMR is just terrible for games. And I understand I'm a sweaty player, and this isn't coming from a place of elitism or anything like that. I'm not going out, I'm not shouting out to people, get good, you know, get good, bro. Get on my level. It's not that. But yeah, look, the MMR discussion is going to be in another video in the future, a standalone video. Solo only queue. Now, remember when I discussed this is coming from someone who would dominate in solo only. Alas, I think the game wouldn't thrive with the player base being split even more. You also have to consider the game is designed around party play with the classes and solos are just accommodated on the side. They're not prioritized. Solo play was never an intention in this game. You choose to play this game solo. Plenty of games in the past have relented to noisy feedback instead of sticking to their vision and added too many queues and modes, splitting the player base more and more over time. You cannot make 6 different games in one. Most people will play stealth builds in solo anyway, like Rogue and maybe Invisible Speed Demon Wizard build. Trying to add variance and balance those queues in one queue over another while trying to maintain the main party mode queue, you know, the squad play, and having the game balanced around that, it will become a nightmare of balance issues between the different queues and modes, and there'll be lots of conflicts with the game design decisions. There's some tweaks needed, but I personally feel the 2 queue normal and high roller lobby system worked perfectly last playtest. I hope the devs stick to their vision and only keep to 2 queues. So, I'll throw it out to you guys in the comments. Do you think the solo only queue would be good or bad for the game's health and success long term? Try to think holistically and not just with your subjective view. I mean, I know I have some, you know, opinions based on, you know, my angle, but I still look at things objectively. And even though I would love, me personally, a solo only mode, because I'm a solo exclusive player, like I would just kick ass not having to deal with squads all the time, just 1v1s. But I've got years in this scene as a content creator and a lifetime as a multiplayer gamer. So I just know that these splitting queues just is never good for the game. It just never is. It just never is. So I'm curious to hear your 2 cents, guys. Lay it on me. Anywho, I live stream on Twitch. They only give me 50% of my money. So if you really want to support me, Patreon's the way to do it, and I do appreciate it. I don't have any feet pics on there. I don't have anything like that just yet. Maybe I'll set up an OnlyFrags. That's FRAGS for the people that may be a little bit sensitive in PC and thought I said a different F word. Subscribe to the channel. So yeah, I'll set up an OnlyFrags at some time, and yeah, give me a hand at Patreon. If not, well, yeah, that's just unfortunate. It really is. Like, god damn it, man.